Welcome back to the Overplayed podcast, the home of sports and sports gaming in your ear every single Thursday, except for the times that I may or may not oversleep. It is what it is. I am GoodGameBro, and we've got a great episode for you today. If you haven't left us a 5-star rating, I'm going to look today. If you have, maybe I'll shout you out. Maybe Mills will shout you out. Mills still has his beard, and he's clinging on to the very last couple of days of that majestic, soon-to-be hidden in ground beard.
I put some extra oil in there today. You know, gave it a couple extra brushes, letting it, you know, giving it some comfort on its way out.
Okay.
I do talk to it. I caress it. I'm like right now. I'll be 100% honest with you. Okay. I looked in the mirror today after I got out of the shower, and I looked at it and I was like, I don't know that this is a great idea. I did the thing where, and anyone that has a beard will know this. Anyone that doesn't, you can look at the YouTube right now. Go to the time mark on the YouTube. I literally put my hand over my chin and pulled my beard back to see what it would look like, and was like looking sideways in the mirror. You can actually hear me choking myself a little bit with my beard right now to see where my chin was right now. It's actually, there's like a distance between like my upper lip and my nose, and I think the distance between my lower lip and my chin is actually smaller than that. So I'm a little scared. I don't want to look like a pop, and that's exactly what I look like. I look like one of those like one of those pops that have, you know, the pops that the pop vinyls, right? The pop vinyl figures. Well, they have notoriously like really small chins. Like their mouth is very close to the bottom of the head because you're more worried about the top facial features. And you know what? It's not a good look, GGB. It's not a good look, man. I'd love to say that I have this grizzly chiseled chin. I don't. There are things that, you know, play this game at home, you know, what bigger than a bread box, right? Would it fit into a bread box? Because you find some way to fit, and you find creative ways to fit this in a bread box. I'm letting you know, like, there's no chance. This is not only not fitting in a bread box, or this is not only going to fit in a bread box. There's no way I can make this thing not fit in a bread box, and I'm scared. I'm legitimately scared. You realize, I hope you hear the chaos, the chaos in my voice right now.
I hear the pain.
A lot of my brand is built around this beard. My logo, my superhero logo, one of the best parts about it is that there is a beard attached to it. I've actually talked to my logo creator and said, do we need to do something about this? I mean, because I don't know how it's going to come back in. I said this on Twitter. You don't understand. Like, it could come back in all gray. It could come back in like with spots on it. Beards can be wildly random like that at times. You know, look at the thing you have trying to grow on your chin. I mean, I need to keep my mouth shut from now on. I'm going to join Gamblers Anonymous. The joking from my side, obviously it's not a joke because it's a real thing, but yeah, this is a bad look, literally and figuratively.
I have two things I'll say to you on this subject. One, if this weren't for charity, I have genuinely felt so bad reading your tweets that I would have. If this had not been for charity, I would have been like, you know what, Mills, like screw it, you know, keep the beard, you know, haha, jokes on us. We'll do like a Colin Kaepernick, Russell Wilson thing. Then you know when EA did that like fake eyebrow shaving or whatever, like we'll do something. But unfortunately, it was a charity bet. And then the second thing that I would tell you. Come at the king, you best not miss. Shout out to Omar from The Wire, incredible show.
Get out of here. You finally find the one thing you beat me in, and it costs me pretty much my identity. Is it? You realize that, right? You're taking my brand away from me.
I'm here for
I don't think you understand. It'd be like me going over and being like taking the Facebook out of Facebook.ggb, or like the new mascot that you have and all the new cool merch that you have. What's the little mascot's name? I know you got a name for him. That's what you do.
His name is G.
His name is G. What if I take G out of your shirts and just like, you know, just put a stick figure there? That's what we're doing right now. All right. Or I put you know what? I'm going to take the G. I'm taking G out of all your merchandise, and I'm putting the robot Rosie from like the Jetsons in it instead. This generic robot that was drawn in the 70s. Like, that's what's going to happen. All right.
This is payback. You act like you're the victim here, but you're not. Okay, Mills, you have
Wait, what?
You have fiercely trolled me forever. Any embarrassing photo of me, you have literally sent to me. The
Hold
photo at
on.
E3 where
Hold
I
on.
look like a prairie dog, like staring around, like where I'm looking
Wait. To
lost.
be fair, that picture's seen more phones than some porn stars. Okay, that thing has gone around the group multiple times. There are more pictures of you with a dumb look on your face. Tell me I'm wrong. Don't make me get Anto on this podcast. Do not make me get Anto on this podcast. We both know what'll happen.
I'm gonna be honest. Anto's the wrong person because Anto knows that I have about 200 photos of him making stupid faces in LA at E3 that I send him once a week. So
yeah, we're gonna have to get Anto or AJ or somebody on this because I know a bunch of people have these pictures recorded in like galleries that just say GGB1, GGB2, goes up to GGB 300, 301, and I'm not talking like ripped Gerard Butler GGB 300. I'm talking about how many pictures of you looking like Rudy Gobert can we find? Oh, don't. He just tried to flex.
Brand.
Oh my god, no podcast. You have to go to the YouTube. He just tried to flex. Oh no, please no. What are you doing?
Build
I think he's
different. That's my brand.
Oh god.
What if you took the muscles away from me? That's my brand. I'm standing by it.
Oh god, we gotta get it. No. We need to get the sports game. I can't anymore. What have you talked to me about this week? We've been having a very interesting week with E3 coming up. What have you been playing coming up with E3 soon?
Yeah, man, I'll be honest, I'm hyped. One, like working in the industry now, it was super exciting just to, you get a slightly different perspective from my 3 weeks,
Congratulations again, by the way.
Thank you. But I've been playing a lot of Fortnite. I just got back into Fortnite last night, streamed it for like 5 hours and it was actually kind of fun.
New season, right?
Yeah. Shout out to Wick and Keg Rider. We played last night. It was picked up like 5 wins. It was really fun. The content in that game, the storytelling you do in that game, for battle royales is just phenomenal. I'm super excited about that. So I've been playing that. Still been on the Warzone grind. Knockout City still has my attention, and that's been like the 3 game rotation. Honestly, I've really had right now.
Yeah, I mean, I've been pretty much sticking with a lot of MLB The Show. I've taken a new approach to online. It's crazy. I talked about this before. Playing sports competitively online, not like pro, but like playing against other players. And actually carrying out the wins and stuff. It's weird when you get more comfortable at playing like the games online. It feels you start to really see the problems with like CPU AI. It really brings up like some of the issues that we currently face ourselves with playing against the computer, like seeing other users like trying to use meta or trying to use like things they know will work as opposed to the CPU kind of like tripping itself on a consistent basis. So it was a really nice dichotomy that I'm starting to get into. I got into BR a lot more in MLB The Show. I got into ranked seasons for my first time ever. I'm literally at 881 in ranked seasons. I'm 1 or 2 games away from World Series because I started taking it seriously. Right? Insane, right?
You hacking? Are you hacking?
No, I've been playing Legend offline for so long that I didn't realize that if I start learning, all it is learning like pitch tunneling and what pitch mixes are meta. And once you realize that, like pitch speeds didn't really overwhelm me as much, except for the very beginning. I started doing like 15 to 20 minutes of practice of Legend against Aroldis Chapman offline, and like speeds catch up. So it's kind of crazy. I know a lot of people listen to this podcast are a lot of verse CPU players. I would say break out of your comfort zone because, well, for 2 reasons. Number one, the good reason is that you might find something you love. I'm seeing a lot of people verse CPU offline players really falling in love with Diamond Dynasty this year with all the content. Number 2, how do I say this? As far as we can tell, sports games don't look to be pointing too much to the offline player. So it might be time to step up and say, okay, I have to find ways to if I'm going to continue to play this game, I might want to find other ways to fall in love with it. So that's pretty much the tact I've taken in my content and in my personal life. Like if I don't love something, I got to find some way to love it or move on. So
like the beard,
Yeah, just shut up. I hate you so much. The other part of this is Knockout City. Knockout City is fantastic. If you're good at it, if you're bad at it, it's fun to play. It's funny to play. Like just some of the things that happen. The I'm going to give them a huge thing of credit here. They put out Pride logos that are
Oh,
all
yeah.
free and very of good variety of
It
the different
wasn't it wasn't
flag
like
logos.
a quick like, okay, Pride Month.
No,
It's
there were like
like,
12, 13
yeah,
different ones that stood for everyone that I can think of. I'm no
from
expert,
identity
don't get me
perspective,
wrong.
yep.
Right, from an identity perspective. And also, a lot of their cosmetics followed suit. They got a couple dresses, a couple skirts. You can equip them on either side. I have this
Yep.
awesome, dude, there's this awesome, like, I'm gonna call it almost like a sundress, but it's
A
kind of like
llama.
what?
It has a llama on it?
Yeah, the llama and the unicorn. That's what I put on my guy, but it's like a little laser unicorn on it,
I saw
and
that,
it's
yeah.
so cool though. So it's kind of awesome what they've done and the attention they've given to that part of the community. I know they're one of the community managers is heavily involved in that side of the community. So awesome on their side. The game itself is amazingly fun and is growing. Like
Yep.
most of those games blow up at the beginning with the free to play. It's not free to play. It's free to play for the first 25 levels, which is a great idea, but it's still growing. Like
Yeah.
in viewership on Twitch, in players on PC, on console, there's always a game. I'm really happy. They got a couple bugs to fix with the crew and stuff, but other than that, absolutely loving Knockout City.
I
But
mean,
but you mentioned E3. So we can talk about what we have here, but we can also talk about like there's a lot of sports games that are kind of I won't say in limbo, but have been announced with no major information behind them. Let's talk about PGA Tour has been announced, and you wouldn't think we're going to get it this year. Normally, golf releases come out sometime in the fall. So EA PGA Tour, are we thinking we get something from EA at all this year? Remember, EA does their own EA Play thing, so who knows?
yeah. I mean, if there's anything, I think it'll be like a platform specific, announcement. So I could see them doing something like, Xbox related at their show, doing a small like thing. Can't imagine much, but I think they could. I wouldn't be surprised if a teaser came out just because EA Sports, Xbox, they've been, hand in hand, especially with Game Pass now and
Right.
sort of EA Play and how that's worked. Obviously, the bigger information coming at EA Play in July for them. I would honestly, even if EA just did a quick little teaser on, PGA and then just gave us a licensing thing on college football, that would be like, I'd be like, hey, I'm good.
You know what
I'm
else
good.
I want to see at E3 from them?
What?
Skate 4.
Oh, I think it's too early.
It might be. I mean, they announced it last EA Play.
Was it? Has it been a year already?
That was remember the very end of EA Play was the teaser with the two developers.
You're right.
So I'm thinking maybe this is about time they come out with that whole hey, Skate 4 is coming or something like that. Obviously, I think a lot of EA's news is going to be dominated by Battlefield, which we now know after today, Battlefield 2042. They're going to have up to 128 player matches in certain modes. On next gen, no single player campaign, but there will be a campaign that is told through the multiplayer, which I think is cool. Kind of like you said earlier, Fortnite does a great job telling stories through its multiplayer play. Honestly, other than that, again, I think EA Play I think they said it's going to be in late July.
Yeah.
I think the only thing I'm worried about is maybe Madden gets released late this year. And it's their first full year in next gen. They're getting a full now with COVID over. They're finally everyone's starting to get back in the office a little bit more. Does this even count? Real quick, does this count as a full development cycle considering most of it has been? It's unfortunate. I don't think it is either.
What the next gen systems dropped? What, late November-ish? So I mean, the developers put out most of them, right? Sports games in particular put out a current gen. And the ones that did next gen then had to release a second title that typically had more content. I don't think Madden really had more content other than like upgraded visuals and some physics stuff. But like you had to do a second title in November. So then now if you're doing next gen as a developer, their release window, their time to develop went from November
right
up until now. So they have a significantly shortened dev cycle. Maybe that's why EA plays so much later, right? Yeah, I'm not expecting to be blown away this year. But if we are, hey, cool, I'm here for it. But I'm setting my expectations low. I just think across the board.
Yeah, I agree. I think COVID being the major spot, I would almost normally call it the next because they normally get next gen systems a little bit before everybody to
Hmm.
develop on. Um, but the more I talk to people behind the scenes, the more I'm starting to get my eyes open on just how hard it is to develop a video game when you can't, when you literally can't go in the office.
Yep.
So much video game development. I don't know how many people listening to this know this, but so much video game development is interacting with each other, not just coding your part of the game, but then taking your game immediately over and getting an immediate reaction from it, or working on something, or bringing the person that you're going to be turning your side over to the bringing it back to your station and saying, hey, look, I have this. What do you think? You can't do that at home. You can have as many Zoom calls as you want. It's not the same. And I'm one of those guys that kind of like advocates for work from home for a lot of necessary or unnecessary positions to be in the office. Video game development's not one of those positions. Like you have to be able to collaborate with other game designers, with other coders, with other everybody. It's just there's too much like
Yeah.
interlocking of different ideas to not have that. So I think you're right. I still think this is going to be. I think we see major steps, but I don't think we see that big next gen push like that everyone's expecting until next year.
And the same thing happened going from like original Xbox to 360,
Mhm.
like that era, 360 to the Xbox One and like to the PS4. Like we saw the same thing of like when those games and titles were released, it was sort of like, okay, the titles the following year were kind of like solid. And then it was a year after where they kind of were like, okay, now we're starting to get really cool stuff. I feel like we're hitting, a repeat of the same cycle.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. Obviously, COVID has hurt so much, going on in the world. I just, these are the coolest and most technologically advanced consoles that we've had in forever.
Yeah.
Obviously at this point, but I mean, I think this has been the biggest step between consoles that we've seen. And a lot of people are gonna be like, well, from 360 to Xbox One was a huge one. Was a huge one, and you're not seeing it so much graphically, but performance wise, I think we see that just how smooth everything runs, just how clean it is, the ray tracing, the difference in camera styles. I think creatively we're getting ready to go into a golden era for video games.
For sure.
And this has taken that a step back, which is weird. Which is a very weird way to do that. So but if you want to talk about golden era, the golden
Ooh.
era for the strikeout in baseball, segue to this week in sports, it may be coming to a very quick end. The MLB came out very publicly and said, if you are caught putting a foreign substance onto a baseball as a pitcher, as a player, no matter what you are, if you're caught doing it, is an immediate 10-day suspension from now on. This is after a slew of pictures and videos of pitchers going to their glove, going to the bill of their caps, going to their pockets, going to everything. The issue is that if you talk to many major league pitchers, they're saying, or ex-pitchers, players, they're essentially saying this has been going on forever. And it's not technically a performance enhancing drug. Obviously, I've saw people comparing this to steroids. These are two different things.
Yeah.
Steroids can affect a player for the rest of his life. This is affecting the baseball. The first start after this was announced, Garrett Cole, for only the second time all year, gave up more than 2 runs, and his spin rate was down significantly. For those who don't know spin rate, it is the rate of spin out of the hand of a pitcher, and it's not something you can change. It's not something you can work to make. Your spin rate is your spin rate. You can make
Yep.
minor changes to it, but there's no real way to make a major change unless you have an injury or something else is wrong. It's a very new stat to MLB. And his was significantly down for the first time all year, even in the previous loss. Garrett Cole's not hurt. He was asked very specifically about a thing called spider tack, which is one of these substances they're talking about that gives better grip to the baseball. And he just sat there dumbfounded. He said, I'm not really sure I don't have the exact quote. I don't think you need to have it's going to be impossible to give the exact quote. He literally sat there and was like, I don't really know what you're talking about, but if MLB wants to crack down, then that's a different story. We'll have that discussion at a later date. He essentially was guilty. He knew it. He knew it the second he was doing it. The problem is this, GGB. Should we be worried about foreign substances for pitchers with the way baseball is now? Baseball is home run or strikeout now. That's the way it's gone. Should we be worried about that, or should we allow them to continue with what they've been doing, considering they are at a disadvantage? I don't even know what this would be at this point.
This is a weird thing, right? Baseball is a sport that has, or is just notorious for having cheating scandal after cheating scandal after hidden thing after hidden thing. Like it goes back, to the earliest days of baseball. You can go back and find crazy scandals, right? They evolve over time, they change over time. There's always something different. Will Middlebrooks, for example, who was a great podcast, the Wake and Rake podcast. He was talking on that recently about sort of how, when he was playing, the thing that he remembers from a lot of guys is they would use Big League Chew, the gum. They would mix it with, I think, honey and cinnamon. And that was what a lot of guys were using at that point to sort of achieve, crazy spin rates and different things of that nature, and to have crazy movement on pitches. I mean, how many times now? I mean, you go to Twitter, look at the pitching ninja. Some of the movement that we're seeing on sliders, that we're seeing on cut fastballs, that we're just seeing on sinkers in general, it feels video game-esque, right? And now we're starting to understand, okay, now there is actual reasons to why these pitches are moving so much better. Yes, athletes get better over time. Yes, they can do more things. But some of this stuff is just too crazy. I think it is an issue, but I think it's also, I wonder how much of a spike there's been, right? If we could ever get a true answer for the spike. Part of me feels like, 2-3 years ago, I mean, Pete Alonso came out and was sort of talking about this. Baseball changed the actual baseball, and it led to I think a record for home runs in a year across the league.
Yep.
You have to imagine pitchers saw that and were like, if I'm trying to get a payday, right? You're coming up to the end of your arbitration. You're finally eligible for free agency after 6 years as a pitcher, and you're seeing these massive home runs being hit. You're probably like, I can use this and try to hide it and get away with it, because vast majority of people are getting away with it. And I can make myself, Gary Cole's deal at $200 million, something crazy like that. You can make massive money, or you could miss out on, literally using this could be the difference of $50 to $75 million for you if you're a top end pitcher. If that incentive is always there for you, the vast majority of professional athletes are going to take that, because that is generational wealth for their families.
Well, and the other problem is hitting offense in baseball is down. It is spiking downwards, with the exception of the year you talked about with Pete Alonso was 2019. Since then, I have some numbers on spin rate. The four-seam fastball, the average spin rate in 2015 was 2,238 rotations per minute. Okay, that means a baseball rotating that many times, a 360 that many times per minute. In 2021, it's 2,317. That's a 79 rotation per minute increase. Sliders, 2,106 to 2,459 in the same time period. Curveballs, 2,303 to 2,555. Same time period. Cutters, 2,206 to 2,416. That's what I'm saying, is a lot of these big time spin rates are having serious issues. But at the same time, two-seam fastball went up 40. Changeup went up 60. Splitters about the same, because you don't use tack on a splitter. It actually would affect your control with it. At a time when baseball is just starting to get their fans back, their fans are starting to go up. They're trending up specifically because of the let kids play movement. Okay. I think it's a perfect time to ban this substance, to ban all foreign substances for pitchers, and allow the offense to come back at the same time.
Yep.
Those two things together could bring a renaissance back for baseball. And yes, I know baseball purists, I get it. You want to have yourself your 1-to-1 pitching duel in the 9th inning. Don't get me wrong. I love a good pitching duel, but I want to see it because the pitcher is actually good, not because he's getting help. Okay. And number two, I want to see some more offense. And I'm not just
Amen.
talking about home runs. I don't want to see home run or strikeout. I want to see some base hits. I want to see some doubles. I want to see some speed around the base. I want to see speed matter again. There's speed players and contact. Dude, if Tony Gwynn played now, oh my God, he'd be a mid-tier player. I want to see these kind of things happen. Like, I want to see all kinds of baseball offense. I want to see pitchers get in trouble. I want to see pitchers get out of trouble. And I don't want to have to think to myself, man, that slider broke 3 feet. That's not humanly possible. And good on Pete Alonso for coming out and saying something, because that's just that while it's the same topic, it's sort of, is MLB and the owners kind of colluding, there's that word, colluding to make sure, because we have a lot of position players going up in free agency right now. And the increase in humidors being used around the league is at an all-time high. You just put them together. You put it together for yourself. If they're adjusting baseballs per year, depending on what the free agency looks like, that's really, really not cool. So,
Would not be surprised.
Yep. Talking about owners getting together and making weird moves, Julio Jones goes to the Tennessee Titans, traded for a 2nd and a 4th round pick. And I think let's talk about the trade first, then we'll talk about the Titans. I think DeAndre Hopkins had the best take on this. If you can't get a 1st round for Julio Jones, what are you get a 1st round for these days? He's missed a couple of games last year. For the first time, mind you, in his career, he missed a couple of games. And I get it, he's 32 years old. But when he's on the field, he's a top 5 receiver. And it's not particularly close. How does Tennessee get away with a 2nd and 4th round pick besides Julio Jones going on national TV and announcing he was leaving?
You're hitting what I'm going with. I think the Shannon Sharp dilemma really impacted this a ton.
Jeez.
Because you have to imagine, Mills, the owners are doing their due diligence to call in or whatever, and they know your guy just said, I'm out of there. Right? I'm paraphrasing, but I'm not paraphrasing by very much. Like, I'm out of there. I'm not in Atlanta anymore. So now as a Tennessee Titans GM, you're out here trying to, swing the best trade you can. And they're like, nah, I'm not giving you a 1st. We know he wants out of there. Like, it's public at that point. I think the Titans definitely got a steal. If you keep Julio healthy, Tannehill is going to have a monster year. AJ Brown, who also got to keep number 11. Shout out to Julio for understanding like a young player, and then significance of a number at that point.
Yep.
Shout out to Julio for being, again, a good dude on that side. Tannehill's going to have a great year. That defense, their secondary, I don't really trust, but everything else about their defense, I like a lot. You have, just as a defensive coordinator, right? If you're in that division with the Titans, you have to worry about stopping the 6'11", 397-pound running back they have in Derrick Henry.
It's essentially NFL hits trying to stop him is what it is. You might as well throw 3 guys at him and pray.
Exactly. So then you've got to keep the box stacked enough to thwart the run somewhat. You have a quarterback who's pretty mobile in Ryan Tannehill, right? Former wide receiver who then still could play quarterback somewhat and has turned into being what was not a great quarterback in Miami, shout out to Adam Gase, to now a very good quarterback in Tennessee.
Yep.
And then you're saying, by the way, you have AJ Brown on one side, you have Julio on the other side, and I forgot who they even have in the slot at this point, but I don't even think it matters as much when you have 2 very, very good, talented receivers who are both very good at running routes. AJ Brown's gotten much, much better in that area. He's only going to get better with Julio being there to give him pointers and tips in training camp. I would not want to play Tennessee if I'm a team in the AFC.
And you already know Julio Jones is on board because of the whole number thing. Yep. That's crazy. And it wasn't Julio Jones bragging about it. AJ Brown took to Twitter and said, I tried to give him 11. He wouldn't take it. So I'm 11 for life. And this goes, Julio Jones is going to go back to number, what is he, 8 in Alabama?
I think he's going 2. It was a confirmation. He's going to number 2.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Because that wasn't his college. A lot of people thought it was going to full circle because now of the new number rules, thinking maybe they're going to go back to that. What a get for Tennessee, man. What an absolute steal for Tennessee. And someone tried to tell me, we had this conversation in chat the other day, Julio Jones doesn't address the Tennessee Titans' issues on defense. And he's right. It doesn't. But it's June. Nothing Tennessee does in June is going to address their personnel problems on defense right now. For a second and fourth round pick, you absolutely say, you know what? Screw it. Maybe we are going to have problems on defense, but you know, we're not going to have problems on scoring 20 more points than the next person because of our passing game and our run game.
He does help defense, though. If you think about it, like how many times as a team do you see 3 and outs on the team, right? If Julio Jones is able to help you get to the sticks on third down and catch that ball, that keeps your defense off the field so they can catch their breath and be better. 3 and outs are what kill defenses because they're tired, they're gassed. They see their offense go 3 and out and they're like, I've got to go back out on the field and try to do this again. Are you kidding me? We're getting torched down here. The more that offense stays in the field, the better. So while he's not directly impacting the defense, indirectly, yeah, I'd argue that he does.
Well, they're realistically, the exchange they're making right now is Corey Davis was a unrestricted free agent. They were going to bring him back. They're essentially replacing Corey Davis with Julio Jones. And this is not a slight to Corey Davis. He's a very good up and coming receiver. He's a bright career in front of him. This is Julio Jones. Okay. Let me try this again. A top 5 receiver across from a future top 5 receiver in AJ Brown. And AJ Brown, like you said, is only going to get better because who are you going to double in that? As long as Julio Jones stays healthy, who do you double? Who do you double? And I think you're right. I think this makes the Titans the immediate AFC South pick. If I'm any AFC team, including, I would even say the Chiefs at this point, I don't want to see Tennessee because this offense puts them fairly close, maybe even a step higher than Kansas City. I think Kansas City's line is better, especially with Orlando Brown there at right tackle. They've effectively retooled their offensive line if they mesh correctly. But running back, I mean, I would take Derrick Henry over the running back. I would almost I think I would. I would take AJ Brown and Julio Jones over any 2 receivers, including they've lost Sammy Watkins, which wasn't a huge loss, but I would take him over Tyreek Hill. I mean, that's just the way it is.
But the big difference though is that Kansas City has you argue at worst he's the top 3 tight end. He's probably sitting at 2. I guess you argue that.
Good point.
What's his face from 49ers? Why am I blanking?
George Kittle.
Yeah, sorry. George Kittle is probably, I would argue, maybe the number 1 tight end in the league.
Yeah.
I think you argue that you're seeing, the Chiefs sitting in the number 2 spot. And then at 3, there's some maybe more so debate there. Maybe you swap their guy back. But
Travis Kelce is an immediate problem for most linebacking cores. Yeah, for sure.
But you look at Tennessee, they've got Anthony Fersker, Parker Hesse, Tommy Hudson, Briley Moore, Jared Pinkney, and Jeff Swain. That is not your high school swimming team. That is the starting tight end group for them.
Jeff Swain, though. I'm not kidding. No, I agree. I think this puts them in the upper echelon of offenses. It's just I don't think I'd want to face them. I agree with you because especially if Derrick Henry's hot. Can you imagine like having to deal with Derrick Henry 30 touches a game and then having to cover
action?
You have to drop you have to drop 8 in the box to stop Derrick. Teams are already dropping 8 and 9 in the box to stop Derrick Henry. You can't do that with Julio Jones and AJ Brown on the field. So I don't know, man. I really question on the backside of this. A second and fourth round pick feels like nothing. Feels like absolutely nothing and again, Shannon Sharp I love Shannon Sharp. Ex-Raven helped us to a Super Bowl. Shannon Sharp's a scumbag for what he did. For what he did to Julio Jones. He didn't really do it to Julio Jones. Jones was getting traded whether he wanted to or not. He's a scumbag. That if anything, I would almost, I know it doesn't work for the NFL. I'd love to see him get some kind of fine or something from them or banned from coverage or something. Cause I mean, that's awful to put that dude on the spot publicly like that and then not tell him you were doing it. Just terrible. Shannon Sharp gets morally Skip Bayless by the day, and that's unfortunate.
He's not there. Skip Bayless is in a whole different stratosphere, but yeah, I didn't love what Shannon Sharp did. I still think there was some level of just like him not like thinking and just being like, I'm gonna call him because I know him, and then the bravado and it just like him not taking a step to be like, this is an idiotic move. Yeah. But I still hate that it happened for everybody.
Well, you know who's gonna hate themselves after this Saturday?
Let me guess.
Not Adesanya. Adesanya whoop some tail again. We got UFC 263 with a co-main event. We got Adesanya versus Vettori and Figueiredo versus Moreno. Now, they're calling this a co-main event, and I love Figueiredo. Don't get me wrong. But Adesanya is the key attraction here. There are actually predictions going around of Adesanya going down to Marvin Vettori. Marvin Vettori 17-3-1. Israel Adesanya 20-1. Any chance? Any chance he's losing the middleweight belt this weekend?
Here's the thing: Vittori's a good wrestler. He can definitely take down. I like him a lot more than Adesanya if in terms of like getting takedowns. Stand-up game, no. I don't think he stands a chance. I was looking at his previous fights. He fought Adesanya in 2018. In 2019, he beat Andrew Sanchez, Cesar Ferreira. Again, not exactly household names. Those are both on Fight Night pay-per-view, or sorry, Fight Night public matches, not like pay-per-views. In 2020, he beat Jack Hermanson and he beat Carl Roberson. Again, not exactly household names here. And then we're looking at the fight that he had earlier this year, which was literally 2 months-ish ago, almost to the day. Kevin Holland, who might be the funniest UFC fighter to watch. Get that dude mic'd up. That is the funniest dude to watch by far. If you just look up Kevin Holland highlights sometime. Yeah. Holland, again, good fighter, a lot of good skill sets. Not exactly known as a guy that's going to finish his fights very well. Adesanya is going to counterpunch this dude and piss him off. And I think ultimately he's going to snuff a couple of those takedowns. Vittori's probably going to get 1 or 2 on him. But I think Adesanya wins it. It might go the distance, I think. Because Izzy hasn't really been knocking out people, I think, the way that people maybe want him to.
Yeah.
I think it goes the distance and we see Adesanya win this one.
I agree with you that it goes the distance to a decision. I think I agree that I think Adesanya wins. I think the main reason it goes the distance is Adesanya had a real problem with Blachowicz. And one of the big problems was Blachowicz was able to put him on the ground. And Adesanya does not fight well off his back. Not many fighters do, don't get me wrong. But Adesanya specifically does not fight well off his back. If Adesanya can stay standing up, there's a chance of him knocking out Vettori. There's actually even a chance of him knocking him out early. But you're right. It feels like Adesanya has been counterpunching way more recently. And I don't think Vettori's going to fall for that. Vettori knows if he wants to win this fight, it's going to be on the ground. Vettori's not gonna stand and bang with Adesanya. It would be the dumbest thing. Even if Vettori just like is trying to get strikes in for technical points and go from there. He just wants to put him on the ground. Adesanya's gonna have to catch Vettori coming in, or he's gonna have to beat him in points. Adesanya can beat him in points. He's a much better fighter technically. The only way which Vettori wins is if he keeps him on the ground. I don't see that happening. I think you're right. I think Adesanya decision. And he holds on to that middleweight belt for longer, which is good for the UFC, honestly, because I think Adesanya is a bigger draw than Vettori will ever be. So
yeah, and I don't even think this isn't even my top fight. I want to watch the Nate Diaz Leon Edwards fight way more than I want to watch Adesanya Vettori fight.
It was crazy. They brought Nate Diaz back, and this is going to be the fight. Question for you: Nate Diaz is far from done. Okay, I would say either one of the Diaz brothers, I want to see fighting into their 40s at this point.
Let Nick Diaz fight again. It's been God knows how long.
Yes, please. They're both incredibly conditioned fighters. They're historically conditioned fighters. Like there's some of their lore is based around their conditioning. He's going to come back and whoop the hell out of somebody, and people are going to be excited about him again, right?
It's setting up. It's setting up, I think, something big. I mean, you've got Dana White is, not great. I'm not a huge Dana White fan just because of, a lot of what he does is just annoying. He devalues fighters all the time and just tries to, I could go on rants about that. Right. This feels like a classic. Like, I think Diaz probably beats Leon Edwards. I think Leon Edwards is a fun, great fighter, but I think Diaz probably wins that because you literally have to drag a Diaz brother like out of the cage. Like those dudes are as tough as they come. You imagine if Diaz wins this fight, UFC 264, right? In July, we've got Poirier versus Conor McGregor. You already know where that's going to go. They're going to try to do the whole thing of like, I don't know what's going to happen with McGregor. Win, lose, or draw that fight. I think they're going to try to set up the Diaz-McGregor fight. Because if Conor wins, you have so much hype coming off of that, right? Mm-hmm. If Conor loses, the one way you can maybe get him back is to be like, well, beat up the dude that, has been one of your more consistent rivals recently, and like you both hate the trash talk. That will get the UFC hype machine going. That will sell massive pay-per-views, and that will sell stupid amounts of, business for the UFC. That's where I think he's kind of going with this.
Yeah, I agree. Real quick, Figueiredo Moreno. It's a rematch for them. They went at it at UFC 256 in a good fight, mind you. They stood and banged for a while. I'm excited to see that. I think Figueiredo knocks him out. I think he knocks him out pretty hard too. We might get knockout of the night from that match because those guys throw. Those guys, and it's fun to watch them throw. You don't get to
Oh
say
yeah.
that on a lot of flyweight matches, but those guys love to throw bones. So can't wait to see that. I think Figueiredo beats Moreno, holds onto the belt for longer. Moving on. God, Kevin Durant. Why can't you? Why can Kevin Durant not stay out of the news for anything but playing good basketball? To be fair, this wasn't
He's
his
an
fault.
easy target.
Yeah, but
Yeah, this
to be
isn't his
fair,
fault.
this
He's an easy
isn't his
target.
fault. Yeah, he wasn't on defense. So Jay Williams comes out, tells a story about him. I use story loosely because now Kevin Durant has pretty much said this story didn't happen. Talk to me about what happened with Jay Williams and Kevin Durant.
Yeah, so Jay Williams basically came out and said that this is a couple years ago. He was on a show. I don't remember which show it was, but Jay Williams essentially said, and I'm paraphrasing, that Giannis is like the love child between Kevin Durant and Kawhi. I can't remember.
Anthony Davis.
Anthony Davis. That's what it was.
Yep.
Yeah. So between those two players, that Giannis was that. Kevin Durant has also been on record years ago saying like he thinks Giannis had, I think this is in 2016, 2017. He thought Giannis had what it took to be the best player of all time, not one of the best. Like he thinks he had the DNA to be the best player of all time because of his raw skill set, freakish height, and what he can essentially do in the court.
Mm-hmm.
So Jay Williams gets on the show and he basically says that, he ran into Kevin Durant after he made those comments years ago on that show. And Kevin Durant said, "Don't you ever compare me to Giannis Antetokounmpo," and some other things there. Again, slightly paraphrasing, but he was saying that KD was being sort of like harshly negative about the comparison to Giannis, saying like, "Why would you compare me to that dude? I'm way better." Is like what he was alluding to.
Right.
Kevin Durant, I love him for a lot of reasons. I also wish we had I've come around and I kind of wish we had this sort of like villain-esque KD where he just doesn't care and he's going at people.
Mm-hmm.
KD quickly fired back on Instagram saying like, "I never said that." He specifically said that's a lie is where he essentially goes.
Right.
Jay Williams then goes back on TV, I think yesterday or today, and essentially says like, "I stand by my story, blah, blah, blah. But, moving on," is what he was trying to essentially do. I have a major issue with this because there are two possible things that happen with this story. One, Jay Williams lied, or two, Jay Williams told an intimate story between two people. Whether he lied or told the truth, you cannot take an intimate moment between you and another person that was obviously done in private, that was not done on a public forum, and then use that as a headline thing. And I'm the biggest Duke homer that you can possibly have, right? I love Duke basketball. I love Duke players. And I love Jay Williams.
I love Duke.
Literally.
Yeah, I love that draw. It's a damn. For those of you who, not to cut you off real quick,
I hate you.
that is a Mike Krzyzewski drop that Dan Patrick runs like literally all the time. So every time I do that, I know when GGP gets it, and I get the same reaction every time. Sorry, continue with Jay Williams being a Duke guy.
But it's just you can't take a story, right? If you're a media personality, you're going to hear things. You're going to have players tell you things in confidence or just sort of like, in the heat of the moment, they're going to say things to you. And you have to know that there are things that you can and cannot reveal about those things because those are burning bridges, burning relationships. And that's a big part of your career is holding tight to those. When you hear, all these people talk about sources and different things, those are built on rapport and relationships. And the moment you start burning those, you start going by the wayside and you become Chris Broussard, who's struggling to stay relevant on Fox Sports 1 right now. So I hate that Jay Williams is in this situation. But again, whether he was telling the truth or lying, he's in the wrong regardless here.
I agree. Like, I get it. Like, there's a point in sports, in journalists right now. There is not stories being told, or there's not like just normal stories in terms of like, hey, the Lakers got eliminated, let's talk about it. Everyone has to have this either hot take or this personal record of something happening to try to like give themselves validity or credibility or something. And it's an all-time high because people are either reporting things now that aren't accurate because they want to have the scoop, or they're telling what Jay Williams is doing here. Like, Why would you tell a personal story about something you did with Durant without getting his approval first? That's awful. It's like releasing DMs. That's essentially what it is.
Yeah.
It's real. It's releasing real life DMs. And what's going to happen now is that NBA stars are going to be very tentative talking to Jay Williams. He might get credibility with the NBA fan. He might get credibility with a sports fan. He might get that, drama high or whatever they get, but you instantly lose credibility. And this happens in our industry all the time. People break NDAs, and yeah, I get it. Talking to Kevin Durant isn't breaking an NDA, but you pretty much know by trade that if you talk something about Kevin, a personal situation, an NBA player is never going to talk to you again. It's just the way it's going to be.
Yep.
I don't understand why people need this now. And I'm going to be very clear again, just a little off here, a little off the topic, but bringing it right back. This is social media doing this again. That immediate need for validity, that immediate need to post something that goes viral or like gives you that validation of I have something that other people want. And with all of these talking heads going around, the Shannon Sharps of the world, the Skip Bayless of the world, the Scott Van Pelt's of the world, Van Pelt is not included in this. I use his name. He is unbelievably good. Jay Williams is literally going, I need to get my name back in the paper somehow, or on the internet, or in the mouths of NBA fans, NBA Twitter, which is the worst place in the world, like all of these things. So he says, okay, I'm going to tell a story about Kevin Durant. And don't get me wrong, Durant's not great in this. Okay. Durant has a history of lying, first of all, and to making himself look better than he actually is. How many burner accounts he still has, we don't know. But Kevin Durant coming out and saying this isn't true, like that's a big thing. Like from now on, every time I hear a Jay Williams story, I'm gonna go, well, maybe. And that's something you can't have as a journalist. You can't have that. Well, maybe what? So what? Like every time Shannon Sharp calls you, if Shannon Sharp called you, GGB right now, would you go, am I on the radio right now, bud? I'm just checking.
Let me call you back. That's what I'm hitting with.
Right. Can you call me back from like a landline somewhere with a caller ID so I know what we're talking about right now? Yeah. So, yeah, it's a bad look. It's also a bad look for Kevin Durant to have this happen during the playoffs. Jay Williams should know better. Don't get me wrong. The Nets are looking great because the Nets have looked great. The Nets have looked unstoppable, even without Harden, mind you. The Bucks look. Can we talk about the NBA playoffs for a second? The Bucks look lost. They're absolutely
fired. They're firing Budenholzer. He's gone.
Kevin Durant's right. You shouldn't compare him to Giannis because Giannis has gone missing. Like, can we get a milk carton for half this team right now?
Well, get a milk carton for Chris Middleton before you get one for Giannis.
No. The same thing happens that happens to the Bucks every year. Giannis takes him to the playoffs. This year, he's had some help. He's had some really good three-point shooting, which is what they needed. We talked about that before the season. They need to be able to shoot the three. That happens. And then all of a sudden, whoops, where'd all the role players go? And then where Giannis, the best part for me is the meme now going around of Giannis or Rudy Gobert trying to hit free throws. I can't. Who would, if you had to put your life on the line and you had to pick either Giannis or Rudy Gobert to hit a free throw, and people are just like, hey man, I lived a good life. It's over for me.
I'm grabbing the shovel and being like, hey, let me just do this myself, Let me just go down on my own on this one.
The Bucks are done, right?
I think they get a gentleman's sweep. I think they get a gentleman's sweep out of this. The Bucks win one game. They're going to fire back. Maybe I'm hoping for their own. Budenholzer, regardless, is fired. The only way he doesn't get fired is if they win the series, which is not happening. Mm-hmm. The Bucks are losing. Budenholzer is getting fired. God help us if they put. You know what I want to see? I want Chauncey Billups to go to Milwaukee. I don't think it'll happen. But I think Chauncey Billups would be a great coach for Giannis and that team in Milwaukee.
I agree.
I think Chauncey Billups would be a great coach wherever he goes in the NBA, but I think Milwaukee would be a really, really fun place for him to be and to have a unique talent like Giannis and to help him get the rest of that team to get the most out of what they can do.
Knock, knock, Brad Stevens. Get on Chauncey Billups' phone quickly.
Yeah, we'll trade Kemba, get Chauncey Billups, and then, see what you got there.
Just player coach him. Speaking of Chauncey Billups and the team that, they're essentially saving that coach's job. Kawhi single-handedly almost. The Clippers survive against a Mavericks team. I want to say the injury to Luka helped this along a little bit, and maybe it helped them get back on. But I'm sorry, if Kawhi is going to play that way for the entire rest of the playoffs, bro, I have not seen Kawhi play at that level, I don't think, ever. Even during the Toronto run, that dude put an entire team on his back and was doing it cold as ice. You couldn't tell what was going on in that dude's mind. And the problem here is normally we talk about superstar taking over offensively. Kawhi did that and then immediately turned around and shut down anyone that was in his path. Kawhi's the best player in the NBA. Kawhi is the best player in the NBA.
No.
Who is?
Kevin Durant.
Okay, I'll give you that. Kawhi is the best all-around player in the NBA.
In the playoffs right now, sure. Regular season, no.
Who?
LeBron James.
Get out of here. Get off. You didn't even. I would have. GGB said that LeBron James is the best overall player in the NBA.
He's the best rebounder. If you look at everything, right, you're just doing the simplistic offense defense thing. Mm-hmm. But if I look at rebounding, steals, assists, points scored, inside outside shooting, LeBron James.
I mean, there's a player in Denver that would like to talk to you right now. His MVP award that's going up on his shelf would like to talk to you.
Well, Jokic has defensive moments, but he plays what I like to call the Matador defense. A little Ole here, a little Ole there, But
and then block from behind, deal chase down.
I just want to point out also, I'm the one that said the Jokic is going to win the MVP. And you told me he would not. So in your face again.
Oh, well, come on. Get out of here.
That's you admitting I'm right. Thank you.
Let's just say Jokic is earning his MVP in the playoffs too. The way he's been playing the way he played against the Blazers, and don't get me wrong, the rest of the Blazers team played against them as well. Anyone not named Dame Lillard should never look at a basketball court the same again. The problem is that they've turned this around now and faced and had to go up against the Suns. It's not good. That first game was not good. Here's the issue that the Nuggets are running into right now with the Suns. No one can cover the pick and roll. And the Suns have found there's always nuance to the pick and roll. Everyone runs it a little differently. Everyone covers it a little differently. This is a bad matchup for the Nuggets, especially with guys like Devin Booker and Chris Paul playing. Chris Paul looking more healthy by the day. This Nuggets team, which should rightfully be able to hang a little bit with the Suns, looked lost trying to cover any shooters. Nuggets have any chance against the Suns in this series?
I think they still do. Look, never judge a series off game one. If I've learned anything about the NBA, game one is like it's a feel out. There's some weird stuff that happens. And then good NBA teams with a good coaching staff or good head coach at least will sit there and say, we've got some adjustments to make. We're going to change the rotations up. We're going to change how we're matching these up. We're going to change a little bit of our philosophy, and they'll figure it out. Let me see game two, and then I'll have a better idea. But look, Jokic is a stud. As good as Aiden's been, as good as Booker's been, Jokic, I think, is still the best player on the floor between those two teams. Will Barton, I think, is coming back healthy for game two, if I remember reading that correctly. So if Will Barton's back, obviously they really wish they had Jamal Murray right about now to help them get some added offensive points.
No kidding, yeah.
But let's see what game two has. I still give them, the same chance I gave them beginning the series. I think they can still win it, but man, the Suns are looking good right now.
One last matchup that I want to talk about, because obviously we talked about Nets Bucks. That's a foregone conclusion. The team that's going to face off against the Nets in the Eastern Conference Finals, I don't think it's as set in stone as it was when I really looked at this beforehand. I didn't think that Trae Young was going to elevate himself to Thanos status. And that's essentially what he's done in these playoffs. He has become the most hated player in the NBA, not in Atlanta. And it's weird because he did it by essentially escorting the Knicks out and doing it flamboyantly, like he bowed to MSG
I love it.
when he did it. So do I. And it's weird because, like I said, I don't really think of Trae Young as a villain, but now I'm like rooting for him and Bogdanovich and guys like that against this Sixers team because I
Ben
want
Simmons.
to. Right. Well, to be fair, Ben Simmons was very, very good against Trae Young in game 2.
Yep.
They made the adjustments they needed to make, and Ben Simmons when Ben Simmons is on, it's not offensively. Ben Simmons gets in a groove offensively, but when Ben Simmons is on, it's because he's locked down and whatever point guard he wants to lock down. Him being 6'11" is insane. And having 6'11", right?
I think he's 6'10", 6'11", yeah.
He's up there. But he can move laterally and stay with guys like Trae Young. Atlanta looked really bad game 2 after winning game 1. Do you think Atlanta still got the juice in this, or has Philly made the adjustments they need to make against this?
As long as Embiid is healthy, and assuming everyone else is healthy, but Embiid is the big domino here. This is a 4-2 series for Philly. I think Atlanta does win one more game. A shooter will always find a way to figure it out, right? And if Atlanta can do anything right, they're going to run staggered screens. They're going to run multiple screens. They're going to pull Trae Young a little bit off ball. And they're going to let Trae Young sort of like run around, tire out Ben Simmons, and get those shots that he really needs, make Philly try to switch a couple of things. There's a lot of things you can do to get Ben Simmons at least off of Trae Young slightly to free him up. And we all know Trae Young can shoot from outside the arena. So I think Atlanta still gets one more game. But I do think with Philly, with how they're playing, Seth Curry looked phenomenal. You know, I love seeing that. Even his passing vision, the dump down pass he had to Ben Simmons cutting in the lane was beautiful. Philly's a very, very good team with an excellent coach in Doc Rivers. I know there was a lot of hate for what Doc Rivers did in the Clippers. I've even made fun of him before, but I will attribute a lot of that to Way Off P. You know, Pandemic P, whatever you want to call him. One of the best names in sports, by the way, is Pandemic P. But yeah, I still think Doc Rivers, how he's coaching, the things he's learned over the years, I absolutely give him the benefit of the doubt. And I think Philly wins that series. They go to the Eastern Conference Finals, and they win the consolation prize of losing to the Brooklyn Nets.
Oh, so you're agreeing finally that the Brooklyn Nets have the juice. Especially if they need Harden back. To beat the Sixers, they need Harden back healthy, for sure. But to be fair, one other thing we didn't even talk about with the Nets, Harden went out, and you know who stepped up to just fill in that role? To fill, not necessarily the position, but to fill in that
Blake
role
Griffin.
of Blake Griffin.
Yeah.
Blake Griffin looked 10 years younger. What do we say, though? What do we say? They were going, hold on, let me take that back. let me clear up my words. What did I say? They were going to manage his minutes, and he was going to play a role for the playoffs. I think I said that, right? You remember me saying that, right? That's what I thought, baby. That's what I thought. So Blake Griffin looking good. To be fair, memes aside, Blake Griffin had a very good game too. He probably will not be able to repeat that on a consistent basis, but it is nice for the Nets to know they have a third scorer if that needs to happen. The Nets are going to the NBA Finals. I don't care who wins on the top side of that. Update your prediction for the West. 2 really good matchups in the West. Even though they might not be the matchups we thought they were going to be, update. Who do you think goes to the finals in that grouping right now?
I hate everything. Okay. So remind me, because my brain is bad. We have Suns,
Nuggets, Jazz, Clippers.
And Jazz, Clippers.
You know what I really want to happen? I want Milwaukee to come back and go to the finals. And I want Utah to go to the finals.
Most boring NBA finals of all time.
Yes, that's what I want in my life. No, it's going to be the Nets and the Clippers. The Clipper. It's crazy. This is going to sound. That Kawhi sticks around. There's not a team in the West that can beat him, because he's going to take down the top scorer for the Jazz is Donovan Mitchell. The top scorer for the Nuggets, even though Jokic is around, the top scorer is going to be. I mean, he could take out anyone else that's not Jokic, and I believe that Kawhi could take Jokic out if he really wanted to. And then Booker's not gonna. You think Booker's gonna? You think Devin Booker's gonna score on Kawhi Leonard?
Okay, we're not
It's
going to slander
happen.
Devin Booker. Devin Booker absolutely can score in Kawhi. No one's going to score all the time, but Devin Booker can put up some buckets on Kawhi.
Oh,
I
agree.
promise.
No, hold on.
Yeah.
I'm not slandering Devin Booker. I'm essentially complimenting Kawhi Leonard here. Don't start.
I think Jazz beat Clippers. I think they beat them.
You think so?
I think Jazz beat the Clippers. I think we get a Jazz Suns Western Conference Finals.
And do you think Kawhi cools off? Or do you think they beat Kawhi? Okay, so you think Kawhi's cooling off. Okay.
Kawhi's had to do too much. Look in the Mavs series. Look how much work he was having to put in just to get by Luka and the Mavs. And literally, it was Luka and the Mavs because Kristaps Porzingis. I'm
$15 million
right now,
to nothing. $15 million to nothing.
I am fighting him in the locker room if I'm him. He's meeting the left and the right hand, and we're just going to battle. Like
Unicorn's got to find his horn sometime.
Also, people are trying to say fire Rick Carlisle. No, you need to get Kristaps Porzingis to understand that he needs to be able to do more than what he's doing. You need some back to the basket plays. You need some things that aren't putting you in the corner. But there is zero shot that a coach as esteemed as Rick Carlisle would just tell Kristaps Porzingis, go stand in the corner if you were doing more on the basketball court than being a bum. That's all I'm saying.
So, one last thing, and we'll talk about Kristaps Porzingis. What about that Knicks trade? You think the Knicks are happy they got out from him now?
What did they go to? What was that trade?
I'm looking for it now. It was traded in January 19 for Dennis Smith Jr., Wesley Matthews, and DeAndre Jordan.
None of those players still in the team. Yeah,
they got rid of Matthews and DeAndre Jordan and 2 future first round picks, mind you.
We know are the first round picks already transpired.
So I'm trying to figure out now who are the picks. Well, they got Julius Randle because they were able to get rid of Porzingis. Yeah. Derrick Rose was acquired for Dennis Smith was traded for Derrick Rose, who had MVP votes this year, by the way.
Yeah, so the Knicks won that trade.
And Emmanuel Quickly was one of the draft picks.
Oh yeah, Knicks definitely won that trade. Quickly's gonna be a good player for New York.
Okay, so hold on. Here's exactly what happened because of that trade. You ready for this? Julius Randle was signed with the cap space that Porzingis cleared up. Derrick Rose was acquired for Dennis Smith, which was a piece of that. They got rid of Wesley Matthews and DeAndre Jordan immediately. Emmanuel Quickly was drafted with the 25th pick in the 2020 draft, which the Knicks acquired after trading the 27th pick, which they got for the Clippers the year they exchanged for Marcus Morris. So yeah, they still have Porzingis may still pay off because in the future the Knicks have the Mavs 2021 pick. And a top 10 protected 2023 first rounder. They're still getting picks. They're still getting capital from the Porzingis trade.
Yeah, the Knicks won that. I mean, Kristaps is making $30 million a year, and he has 3 years left in his deal, something crazy like that. Yeah, get that man up out of Dallas. Send him to the Wizards, where all overpaid big men deserve to go finish their career.
Oh, it's not good. The Wizards. No, I have some friends that don't want to hear you say that. Sorry, DG. Women's College World Series, FSU versus Oklahoma. What in God's name is going on with the Women's World Series? Listen, I'm a huge baseball fan, okay? I love Major League Baseball. There hasn't been a series of Major League Baseball this year that has touched this College World Series. Talk to me about FSU Oklahoma going on right now.
Bro, first of all, at the time of this recording, Oklahoma just scored 3 runs in the 6th inning to lead by 3 heading into the 7th inning. So we're going to have a game 3, and it's going to be decided at that point. Florida State won game 1. Oklahoma's probably winning game 2 as we go into the 7th inning here.
Yeah.
But it's been incredible.
Although, I mean, who knows in this series so far?
But I just want to shout out, I mean, obviously they're somewhat local to you, super local to me. James Madison University. Go Dukes. Damn right. What Odyssey Alexander and that team did was unbelievable. They had a winning streak. It was like 28, 29 games. It was something incredible where they had won so many games in a row to even get to that point. They lose, obviously, in dramatic fashion, but the number 1 play in Sports Center warmed my heart to see Odyssey Alexander field that bunt, dive and get the runner that would have tied the game up. And that was like literally the game-saving play. The Women's College World Series has been incredible. The plays in the outfield, the plays in the infield, the heart, the passion, the emotion of college sports. I don't care at all about men's college baseball. But women's college softball, I've been in on and I've been paying attention to. I literally sat and watched when I was making dinner and eating dinner tonight. I was watching Oklahoma and FSU play. It has been phenomenal. More people should be giving it a chance if they have not.
I agree. Just like we talk about with video games, when you're not enjoying something, you should go try something else. Open your sports encyclopedias up a little longer. Go look at either side. Go into the X once in a while. You know, no one goes into the Q once in a while, like for Encyclopedia Britannica. Like, go to those and open your minds up. Speaking of opening your minds, a schedule reminder. Next week, there's going to be 2 episodes. We're going to have our normal recorded episode next week on Thursday around 3 p.m. Eastern, as we always are. We're also going to have a live recording on Saturday, June 19th at 1 p.m. at GCX, which is a virtual event this year. Twitter.com/GCX event. By the way, they're also holding a huge charity marathon benefiting St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital starting Sunday at noon all the way until Sunday, June 13th, all the way through GCX, ending with Dr. Lupo from 12 to 4 p.m. at GCX, Sunday, June 20th. Please check them out. Again, it's tagged on the GCX event Twitter. Some amazing streamers. Bloody Faster's in there, Ninja's in there, Ammunition's in there. I'm just looking. Clintus is in there. Anthony Kongpan. A ton of people are going to be involved in this. It is for a great cause. Matter of fact, it's the cause that I'm losing my beard for in 2 days, which will happen Friday night at 7 p.m. If you guys are interested in that, I'd rather honestly promote this charity for that. Yeah, 7 p.m. on my Twitch channel if you would like to see, or actually, I think GB is going to be co-casting on his Facebook at some point. So between 7 and 8 p.m., I'm going to be, trying to convince people that I don't have to do this. But also GCX event, twitch.tv/GCX event for all of what I just talked about. The stream, the constant St. Jude's Children to the charity streams, charity marathon going on, plus GCX event Thursday, June 17th. Through Sunday, June 20th. Check them all out. Sorry, it's a lot to talk about. I know, a lot of information. We'll have it tagged in our in the details as well. GGB.
Yeah.
Listen, just want to let you know.
Okay.
I compare you mostly to Rudy Gobert, but only physically and height-wise. It's okay. Not your game. I would never compare you that way. I'm going to do it on TV too, so going to take the story back that way. Me, Jay Williams, same thing. Anything for a little clout.
I had no idea where you're going with that. Also, I just want to remind people, because Mills is old and didn't remember, that is Eastern time that Mills was giving you, because Mills doesn't believe outside of the Eastern, time zone.
East Coast, Beast Coast, baby.
I mean, you're not wrong. I'm still technically there.
I'm talking about talk to a DMV.
Shout out also to a couple 5-star reviews we haven't shouted out yet. We had Jake B3336 says, lucky find, accidentally found this pod and I'm pumped I did. Great listen, Jake. Thanks a lot. Hopefully you didn't stop listening by now. Eraser0105 says, fun, respectful, honestly, this podcast is amazing. Mills Backpacks GGB. Okay, we're not reading this one. That guy writing with a 5-star review. World is this podcast. I didn't know much about the sports world. Most of my knowledge was surface level. Now, not only can I keep up with sports, I can also enjoy conversation with my friends. So shout out to those 5-star reviews, except for Eraser015. I will erase your review from our page at some point for the slander. Mills, great episode. Had a blast. Your beard is coming off again Friday roughly
at 7 p.m.
7 p.m. Eastern.
It's going to be between 7 and 8. Yeah, I'm gonna probably kvetch about it a little bit and try to convince people that I don't need to really shave it off before I do it. Yeah, I've got a DSLR camera for one reason and one reason only, so you can see this baby bottom chin at some point.
God, I will clip everything. Again, great episode. Had a blast. 5-star review if you haven't already. Remember, Mills dropped a lot of information on the GCX event. We're going to be there doing a live podcast of 2 episodes for you guys next week. One on Thursday, one on probably Saturday. I guess technically live, maybe posted probably Sunday or Monday to the actual feed. Be safe, be smart, tell someone you love them. Catch you guys on the next one.
Ciao.